Today's presentation is choosing the right measure in navigating SUSU HealthLink Center's Measures Registry. Okay, so a quick overview of who we are. SUSU HealthLink directors are Doctors Kristen Wells and Guadalupe Suchi Ayala. And we are funded by the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities. We were initially funded in 2016 through the SUSU HealthLink Endowment, our goals are to leverage infrastructure, networks, and knowledge to advance health science and health research for all communities here at SUSU, both in Imperial Valley and in San Diego. And so in 2018, our co-directors received an additional funding to build the center. And our center has recently renewed its funding in 2024. And we were one of the 23 research centers at minority institutions. After refunding, there are less institutions now, but we're lucky enough and grateful that we are continuing being part of this institution as well. And so right now, it marks our 8th year of funding. And I want to dive a little bit more about who we are. I coordinate the efforts of the Measurement Methods Group, which is housed under the Research Capacity Core. And so we offer different resources and services related to measurement, including support and in electronic data capture systems such as Qualtrics, REDCap Cloud, and such. And this is my team, and I want to give a quick shout out to Bailey Williams and Angelina Rees, who supported and worked really hard in getting the measurements registry up to what it is right now, and being able to present on it today is all thanks to their hard work. And quickly, our mission of the center. We want to enhance institutional research capacity, enhance investigator capacity, and the capacity of community partners to engage in research. Foster an institutional environment conducive to career development of all researchers, including junior investigators. We want to be able to enhance the availability of research tools, resources, and services, cultivating a sustainable research translation efforts with community partners as well. And so with that, the community, as you know, we are not able to do the work that we do as well in research. For this presentation, it is especially tied to the enhancement of availability of research tools, resources, and services. And so with that being said, I want to introduce the Health Science Research Portal. This is a very new, recently launched portal that is online, and I want to go over a little bit of the details of what it is and walk through the website together, because it's where the registry is housed in. And so I also want to kind of promote the different types of resources that you can find for both students and researchers, as well as community partners who are interested in doing research as well. So the portal is an online repository, again, to help to SUSU affiliated science researchers and their partners, again, community partners, to catalog, share, and archive web-based tools, resources facilitating research, training, and collaboration. So you'll be able to see here that we have different types of dissemination projects, such as presentations, reports, infographics, and trainings. We can also see guides that, such as institutional research report protocols, letters of consent and consent forms, or certified instruments, laboratory measurement, or data collection intervention tools, as well as data-related resources such as data dictionaries, construct tables, and statistical code. A quick disclaimer though, this repository, this portal is not a data repository, meaning that we are not storing any of the research data from any other projects. What you may find is sample data. For example, if you go into resources, Data sets, we only mean by sample data sets. For this example that we have here is a data set that is that contains health-related physiological activity measures. It's only a resource to assess the compatibility and feasibility of the Garmin Front Service Platform if you're interested in that platform and want to understand a little bit more of that data. Again, we're not saving any of the actual research data in here. And I want to walk a little bit more. As you can see, if we go back to our resources, you're able to search for all types and filter through all types. We have different types of documents related to research. We have infographics, for example, this one from the intervention methods group that is providing an overview of mixed methods research approach. You can download this or view this resource here. You can also view presentations. Currently, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we do offer different types of research services as well, and you can find videos of the different methods groups that we have in here related to those services, and also training materials in here. We have different types of workshops that have been done in the past and recorded and uploaded here. We are going to be uploading the recording and the slides of this presentation into the HSRP, which is the Health Science Research Portal as well. So you'll be able to find it here and or direct it to anyone who may be interested in the measurement registry. And lastly, you can see the measure registry is hosted and housed within this portal. And I'll go into detail more as we go along this presentation. So just a quick overview. Again, it's recently launched. It's very new. And so if you do find something that's not working, please let us know. We are welcome to feedback and anything that you want to give us information on, we do have a way to do that, and I'll explain a little bit more how to do that as I go through this presentation as well. Okay, so the main objectives of this presentation is to understand the key concepts and purpose of the SUSU HealthLink Centers Measure Registry, why we did it, and why we are excited to provide this as a resource. Understand the different measurement characteristics found in the registry to help you choose the right measure for you, as well as how to navigate the SUSU HealthLink Centers Measure Registry housed in the HSRP, the Health Science Research Portal. And before moving forward, I would like to go over some key concepts in measurement. First, constructs. A construct is an abstract concept that represents a psychological, social, or behavioral idea that cannot be observed directly, but can be measured through scale items or other types of measurements. For example, we have depression, anxiety, pain, acculturation. Those are just examples of constructs. And then we have instruments, measures, or scales. These terms are used interchangeably, but it's essentially a tool that defines and quantifies a construct through its item, enabling the construct to be measured in practice. So for example, how do we assess depression? One of the ways we can do that is through the Beck Depression Inventory, which is a measurement, again, or a scale of items. Okay. Next, so imagine you are a student or a new researcher trying to assess something new, a new construct. For example, chronic pain. This chronic pain, how do we assess it? You probably only or understand it as, have you seen being assessed in maybe in an ER room? If you go to an ER room or perhaps clinic room saying like, from 1 to 10, how's your pain? And then maybe they show you little figures, right? But in research, you typically, or at least we typically go and search how it's measured through other literature, right? Other projects, how they are assessing it. And you may go into PubMed, for example, search or measures of chronic pain, or in PsycInfo, those are kind of where we start looking into the literature. But for example, here we get 50,000 results. That's a lot, right? It's way too many. How you have to go through each article, trying to find which one, trying to find the characteristics, what population were they tested on, is it reliable, is it good to capture what you're intending to capture, right? And so another resource that you may go into is to find these different type of measures to see if it is through the Phoenix Toolkit or the health measures, which houses like PROMIS tools, which is assessing like mental health skills. But again, you have a whole lot of digging into, right, for each of the different types of measures. And so what we are trying to do with the measure registry is to help ease this process by selecting appropriate measuring tools for measuring constructs of interest. And so this was developed as one of the aims for the Research Capacity Course Measure Methods group. And it all started because we wanted to capture and document all of the measurements that were used by the research projects within our center. And so we started documenting those and extracting information pertaining to those particular measures. It eventually evolved into a very large data set, and where we are specifically choosing measurements that are validated, and we are going into the literature, looking and searching for research articles, extracting important information that you may need to help you decide whether or not that measure is useful for you or for your project. And so I will go into detail exactly what type of characteristics we extracted from this, from all of the articles for each of the measures. But currently we have 7 different measures related to acculturation, adult quality of life, anxiety, chronic pain, depression, food security, and perceived social support. As I mentioned, this project has been ongoing for quite some time already. And we do have 52 constructs in total in our database, but it's not uploaded yet into the HSRP because we want to provide you with accurate information as best as we can. And so it will take us some time to upload all 52 constructs into the portal. With that being said, though, if you are interested in a construct that you don't find in the registry online, please reach out to us. We do have information, but we don't want to upload it yet, just because, again, we're going through a process of quality control to make sure that the data that we importing online is correct, the most accurate that we can. And if you ever see anything odd within the online portal, please also reach out to us. We are wanting to make this resource helpful and accurate as much as we can. And so right now, I want to dive into the actual registry and go over the different characteristics and kind of navigate the website and how to utilize it, and what things to look out for while you are trying to choose a measure for your study or your project. So again, we have the measures registry here. It has a brief description of what the registry is. You are able to search the registry here either by construct or by, if you already have like a measure in mind and we want more information, then you can find it here. You can also filter through the construct itself that you're interested, cost, availability, and language. And when you click on a view source, for example, this Austrian back pain disability questionnaire here, view the source, you're able to see the title of the measure. You are able to see that it belongs to the chronic pain construct, and you can download a citation. The citation can be uploaded either to like EndNote, Mendeley, or any other citation that you may be using for references. It also provides a description of what the measure is about. For this example, the Austrian Low Back Pain Disability Questionnaire evaluates the degree of functional impairment a patient with chronic pain is experiencing. And then we have different tabs down here. Each tab has different type of information. General information has information regarding the purpose of this measure, the population in which it was tested on, the year of publication. This is quite an old one, 1980. And the references. As I mentioned earlier, we went and researched all of the references related to each of the measures, providing you with the source article, which contains all of this information that was extracted from the source article, as well as an analytics article. And by analytics, I mean psychometrics. And I'll go down a little bit, explain psychometrics in a little bit, but we provide you with all of those resources in case you want to go ahead and cite, or as well as if you want to read the whole document yourself, you can go ahead and do so as well. Then in the second tab, we have measures characteristics. The number of items in this particular scale or measure, we have 10 items. And now I can see there's an error and we have to talk to our web designer for that. But you can, in the scale types, we have that it's a Likert scale. And we provide you information as to what the scale looks like as well. If there are any subscales, you'll be able to find it there. We have the scoring, meaning how do you score that measurement? And again, I'll go into more detail about these things. I just kind of want to show you what the registry looks like. The administration, self-administered, readability, literacy level, languages available, which this measure is available on. And then we have the tab of psychometrics properties. We have information related to reliability, validity, and as well as any limitations defined within the source article. Is this too small to see?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, let me zoom in. Is that better?
Yeah, right.
Sorry. Speak up, let me know. Okay, and so lastly, we have visibility, which means is it available? Public, is there a cost? Is it free? And any other considerations that we think are important to this measure. So that is what the measure registry looks like. And I want to go into detail on each of these different characteristics found in the registry and talk a little bit more as to what kind of things you want to kind of watch out for or think about while you're considering these information. First, availability and cost. A measure can be either publicly available or proprietary. And publicly available means that it's free to use, free of charge. Sometimes though, a measure can be available only through an author's permission. And so it's still free, they don't charge you, but you should be asking them for permission to use it in your project. Proprietary means that yes, there's a cost and you will have to pay for it. And why is this important? Because one, if you are a student and trying to do a research project for your thesis or whatnot, you may not have the money to buy a scale, right? Depending on how expensive it is. Or maybe you are limited in your project funding. You're doing a pilot project that doesn't have a lot of funding to get an expensive scale. So you want to look out for that. Not only that though, copyright violations are very important because they can lead to legal action, retraction of publications, or accusations of academic misconduct. And so please watch out for that. If it is, if there is a cost, pay for it so you don't get in trouble while using it in your project. And so I want to kind of give you an example of what that looks like in the registry. So for example, if we go back to the registry, there is one registry. This is the Multidimensional Acculturation Stress Inventory, MASSI. And again, you'll find that information in feasibility, and it's free of cost. So it's free. There is also, if we go back to look at another one, we have the Beck Anxiety Inventory. Visibility, it is proprietary and there is a cost. But we provide you with the resource so that you don't have to go looking for it in Google. We provide you with a link that that directs you directly to either buying it, or if it is an author's permission that is required, even though it's free, we provide you with the information or where you can contact that person, or if there is a website, you will find a link to that website as well. So we're trying to make it easy, trying to have everything centralized in one single location so that you don't have to go back and forth or Googling it or looking for it in another area. So next, I would like to go into psychometrics. Let me start this slideshow again. And a quick disclaimer, psychometrics is a very complex topic. We don't have the time to dedicate such and go into it in detail. And again, I feel like it warrants its own workshop, its own presentation, but I do want to touch base on this. And psychometrics is the science of ensuring that a skill accurately measures that construct that is intended to measure. And within psychometrics, there's different testing, for example, which is validity, testing whether the instrument measures what it's intending to measure, reliability, the consistency and stability of that measurement. And I really like this infographic or this graphic here because it kind of simplifies it a little bit. And again, it's a lot more complex than what I'm going to be saying now. But essentially, let's say that this target is your construct of depression, your construct of anxiety. A measure that is reliable but not valid means that you are, and the arrows represent that measure in the scoring. And so that scoring, as you can see here, they're shooting relatively in the consistent area, right? They're shooting in the same area, but it's not really hitting the construct, the center where you want to be hitting. And so there's consistency in that sense that they're all within the same area, within the same scoring, but not really targeting what we want. A valid but not reliable measure is targeting hitting the target occasionally, and hitting it very sparsely or very incongruently, I guess, and not consistent in that hitting the target. What we want is a valid and reliable measure, always hitting the target all the time, whenever you're administering that measure, right? So that's the kind of the simplest way I can explain it. But I want to also provide you with some more information. So validity contains or has a lot of different types of testing. There is content validity, which is measuring whether the items adequately represents the construct and is judged by experts. And then there's construct validity, whether the scale measures the theoretical construct. So for example, if you are interested or you have created a depression scale, you can compare this scale with an already existing scale. For example, the Beck depression inventory depression scale. And whether if they correlate well together, then that means that they have construct validity. Then there's criterion-related validity, which is correlation with an external criterion, i.e., real world outcome. So, for example, again, going back to depression, You created a new scale and you want to test it against the gold standard. So, for example, a clinical that, and you're expecting those who are clinically depressed score high, meaning that you are measuring that construct correctly. Then there's face validity, whether the scale appears appropriate and relevant, judged by participants or non-experts. And then known groups validity, which is the ability to distinguish between groups that should be different. So, for example, going back again to depression, you expect those who have been clinically diagnosed as depressed to score a lot higher than those who are not clinically diagnosed as depressed. Then there's reliability, and we have different testing as well. Internal consistency, whether the items on this scale measures the same construct. And usually for this type of test, we do a statistic test called convex alpha, ranging from 0 to 1, which can be to be computing for internal consistency, and a higher number means that it's better internal consistency. Then we have the t-test, retest, reliability, and that is the stability of scores over time. So, for example, if you are testing your depression one time and then it passes 1 month, and you retest again, then you should be having the same similar scores, right? And then there's split half reliability, meaning consistency between two halves of a scale. And then parallel forms reliability, consistency between equivalent forms of a scale. And then inter-rater reliability, consistency of scores between different raters. For example, again, depression, you have two staff members, the research staff members who are assessing depression in the same patients. And if both raters are consistently assigning the similar scores to the same patients, then that means that the scale is strong in inter-rater reliability. And again, I wanted, since we don't really have time to dive into this concept or this topic too much, I want to provide you with some resources. This first book here, Reliability and Validity Assessment, is available free online for SDSU library. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And then the Skill Development Theory and Applications, that is not free, but you can rent it. I think it's like $38 or something like that. Or you can buy it. Again, we provide you links for both, so it's easily accessible for you. Okay, so going into our registry, psychometric properties. For example, in this Beck Anxiety Inventory, you have testing for both reliability and validity. Another thing that you should know, though, is that not all measures have psychometrics, and not all of them will have both reliability and validity information. And so we do make note of that as well. So looking into this specific Beck Anxiety Inventory, the reliability demonstrated a high internal consistency with a 0.92 with an item total correlations ranging from 0.3 to 0.71. So we also, again, if it's too extensive, that it's kind of, we're trying to summarize and make this easy to read, but if you want more information, we do let you know where in the source article you can find that. And so this means it's a high, as I mentioned earlier, the convex alpha ranges from 0 to 1, higher, the higher the number, then the higher the internal consistency. Then we have validity. The convergent validity of was assessed comparing it to other measures of anxiety, including the HRS HARSR and the CCLA. So it demonstrated a correlation of 0.51 with both of these measures, demonstrating a good convergent validity, meaning they are assessing anxiety. Similarly, how these other two skills are assessing anxiety. Then there's discriminant validity, which is assessing, comparing the anxiety inventory to something different, such as depression here. And it's showing a low correlation, meaning there's a strong discriminant validity, meaning that it's not correlating to that measure of depression, as in meaning that it's actually measuring anxiety, right? It's not being mixed with the depression there. Okay. Then let's move forward with administration and number of items. So different types of administration, and I mean by administration, it's either self-administered, meaning that the participant can fill it out themselves. Interview administered, that you have to have a research assistant or a research staff administer this measure to the participant, or it can be both, either or, self-administered or interviewed administered. And then there's number of items of skills. And why do I bring this up as something to consider? Is because you really want to take into account while you're designing your study and your study visit, the flow of your data collection. Things to consider of this is, for example, you may not have either a lot of research staff that to be able to have a measurement that needs to be delivered by a research assistant or a research staff. Not only that, but if it's interview administered, does that interviewer need to have some sort of training? And how feasible is that training to do? You know, and if it's self-administered, one of the things is like, will you be able to do it in person? Are you able to do it online or through Zoom? Those are the kind of things that you have to start thinking about while designing your study visit, and how feasible it is for time, money, and the staff available. And for the number of items of the scale, again, it's important because if you have a very long measure, you can lead to respondent fatigue or survey fatigue, which leads to less accurate data if the person is tired from answering so many questions, right? Not only that, but we tend to not only do one single measure, we do multiples. And so that's another thing. But again, sometimes having a higher number of items that is more reliable. You have more reliability if you have a higher number of items. But again, you have to be aware of how long it would take to administer and the time constraints that a participant has to be able to answer all of those questions. Yeah, I won't show you an example because it's just showing whether or not it's self-administered and the number of skills. I think I've already shown that, but it can be seen here in the measure characteristics. This spec anxiety inventory is 21 items long, and depending on how the type of question it is, it may go quickly, and sometimes it might not. So we recommend for you to look and view the actual measure to decide whether or not it's appropriate for your study or your project. Then there's readability and literacy level and available languages. Again, thinking about your population is very important. Know and understand who you're trying to study will help you kind of decide, and it ties into how the reading level, is it appropriate for that population? If you have a lower education type of people, then you would want a scale or a measurement that is easy to understand. And then available languages. Are you trying to assess a population that speaks Spanish, that speaks some other language other than English? And so you want to also pay close attention, because in the registry we show you the different languages that scale is available in, but we want you to take a step further by seeing how this scale was translated. Was it through translation panels? Was it just because of the research staff, or was it translated through AI? AI is now very widely used. And so one other thing is to know what type of languages it's translated into, because English versus British English is so completely different. Spanish from Spain, from Mexico, Cuba, or Puerto Rico is also very different. So again, understand your population and understand who you're trying to study. And again, does it have slang or other phrases? For example, I feel blue. In English, you understand that that's not feeling that great, you're feeling down, right? But there's no real direct translation in Spanish. Me siento azul. What does that mean to you? Like, that immediately in my head is like, me siento azul is that you can't breathe, right? We turn color. So that's what it's important for you to not only view it yourself, but also ask a member of your community or a member that is similar to the studied population that represents the people that you're trying to study. They will give you feedback, and they will let you know this is not understandable. It's not something that we can do. And so reach out to them and have them read it through before you decide whether or not that is available, or whether or not it's measurable to that population. So again, using this Beck Untitled inventory, you can see the it's in the measures characteristics down here. We have available languages, English and Spanish. And then if I also wanted to show you something else, this Tampa scale of kinesophobia, which is kinesophobia is the fear of movement that may result in musculoskeletal pain and discomfort. So something interesting I found. But yeah, so the measure characteristics here, we have English and Spanish, and we notice that this measure is available in many different languages. And so instead of listing them all, we just provide you with a link directly to that measure, so that you can view all of the measurement information in here. Yeah, and so again, we try to make it easy for you and for our users here to kind of like know and understand the measure a little bit more. And if there's additional information, we link. Moving forward with scoring, understanding how the score of the scale and subscales is computed is important. For example, most scales, commonly it's used summing or averages items across all of the scales is how you compute that. And also it's important to know what is the range of a possible score and the score interpretation. Sorry, my tongue. And so one of these examples is the bidimensional acculturation scale for Hispanics. This has 12 items that measures two cultural domains, Hispanic and non-Hispanic, and that should be average across items for each. Then there's the total score range for this particular measure is 1 through 4 for each domain. And a 2.5 score can be used as a cutoff to indicate how low or high in adherence to each cultural domain is. And a score of 2.5 and above 2.5 in both cultural domains indicates biculturalism. And so it's important to understand what each of the scores mean so that you're able to interpret them. And I want to give you another example using the Tampa scale of kinesiophobia. This is a Likert scale, and to score the TSK, it scores on all 17 items are summed. Important note here that items 4, 8, 12, and 16 are inversely scored, meaning a 1 actually means a 4, and a 4 equals a 1. So pay close attention to how they're scoring things. Total scores range from 17 to 68, with higher scores representing greater kinesiophobia. Okay, and that actually ends the presentation.